And then after showing that good faith or whatever to the community, they immediately turn around and just start nerfing stuff again, systematically across the board. And it's not just the weapons they're nerfing, they're nerfing fundamentally like drag and all that stuff. Just let the game feel responsive to play.
So, what was it you were even saying about Helldivers earlier?
What do you mean? Oh, the balancing controversy stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, there are a lot of people that are mad at the devs, and I'm not saying I'm not mad at the devs, but it's not because I support their decisions or anything like that. Before we even get into it, I'll say that much. I don't care, that's the point. In most instances, in the Arc Raiders thing, everybody thinks I'm talking about PvP versus PvE and whatever, and I guess in a way I am, and I touch on it and do discuss it, but like my main point was the philosophy of it. And the philosophy of this is, unlike most games where there's two elements that are vehemently opposed, you know, in Helldivers, you've got half the community that doesn't care about the balance changes and tweaks and whatever. And then you have the part of the community that does care and does think they're bad changes and, you know, whatever. So it's not like one camp thinks Arrowhead is doing all the right stuff and then the other camp doesn't. It's just one camp doesn't care. And the issue is Helldivers has like this unique approach to its gameplay in that, you know, you've got ergonomics to consider on your weapon. So there is drag and sway and all this stuff, and that basically means that you'll turn your camera to aim, and depending on the drag that weapon has, it takes a minute for your guy to catch up and actually aim in the direction that you're aiming. Then the second stage of aiming is looking at the little circle reticle and then pulling your aim down so that reticle is more in line with where you want to shoot. And as you shoot, you know, you keep track of the reticle, and you know, you can play it all like that. I don't personally feel like you need to, but that's something completely different. It is frustrating when you tell a game to do something and it does not do it. So I completely understand the side of the community saying that the balance changes are bad. They want a power fantasy because that's why this game is fun. You know, shooting weak points makes it fun. Dismantling hordes and hordes of enemies and these giant foes, taking them out, again, with weak points and things like that is a lot of fun. But these players are, I'm not gonna say they're all no life in the game. Like, we have a few friends that all they do when they play is run level 10s, they buy all the new stuff very quickly, and, you know, then they stop playing.
I was gonna say, that's kind of a casual versus, well, I guess we'll say professional player, someone who spends 8 hours or more playing the game. Because people who play it casually probably wouldn't notice most of these changes.
Well, that's the thing, like, they'll definitely notice that the guns are draggier and stuff. For example, like, I play the game extremely casually. Again, that's one of the reasons I enjoy the game very much. I'm not playing it all the time on the hardest difficulties, you know, doing whatever. It's just a chill, you know, immersive thing for me. You know, like, some people play Wildlands one way, Ghost Recon Wildlands, one way really aggressive, and other people play it like super slow and tactical, and, you know, they turn off all the HUD elements and they navigate. It doesn't matter. My point is, I'm in the camp of, you know, I just don't care. I don't play it enough. I don't take it seriously enough to care that much. That is not me saying that these, I guess, super skilled, you know, thirsty for chaos, like high-end players are wrong. I don't think they're wrong at all, actually. I'm just not in their camp. Like, I'm not gonna pretend to be someone who's playing Helldivers 2 at level 10 all the time, doing solo level 10s, and being bored. You know, like, one, I play without my HUD and stuff, so that would be quite the undertaking. You know, maybe we'll do a video about that sometime. I don't know. But you can enjoy this game if you keep your expectations in check. But to get into the balancing that they're doing that's pissing off the community so much, is they're adding more drag, more recoil. They're, you know, nerfing weapons. You know, they're doing all this other stuff. And if you play the game at a high level, it's just frustrating to all of a sudden your favorite gun isn't as snappy or accurate or whatever. Especially in a PvE game. Like, the developers just seem to hate it when they see somebody do a solo level 10 or something like that. It feels like it just pisses them off so bad that they immediately go in, look at whatever he had, and then nerf the crap out of it. And that's stupid. It's dumb. Add more difficulties or something. And so, okay, and then so the developers just represent both sides from what I understand. I'm not an expert. Again, I'm super casual when it comes to Helldivers, but they have literally said in video interviews or dev diaries, whatever they are called, that they can't add more enemies to the game, and they can't increase their health pools or their armor because, you know, that would mess with the balance or whatever. And but they've done both of those things, and we agree though that that's probably not what you need to do. My personal opinion, again, just my opinion from the casual, is adding more enemy variety, like variations of the enemies that are in the game. Maybe this bug is this color, but this new variation is this color, and this one's developed armor on the spots that the old one had weaknesses, and now there's a new weakness for that variation. Again, I really believe the whole weak point philosophy in the game is the bread and butter of why it is fun. The feedback the game gives you when you shoot shit is why it is fun to play. That's why it's fun to play. Like, there's no way around it. When you're unloading your machine gun at a bug, you know, and you're tearing pieces of it off, that's cool. Like, it's immediate feedback, and you hear it, like, ripping through. That's all, like, dopamine for your brain instantly. I would also say, though, that if you wanted to make it even better, but they won't, apparently, because they want everything to be nerfed, is if your bullets aren't pinning the armor, that are just not high enough penetration to get through the armor to do full damage, let the feedback in the game be like that armor plating denting over and over and over until finally, you know, it breaks enough for you to do full damage. Stop debilitating the players completely. Like, there should be restriction in, you know, how you have to go through playing the game, but, you know, nerfing everything isn't the response to making, or isn't the answer to making the game more difficult. If you recall...
You had said before, actually, before you move on, you had said before that they could add more of the stronger enemies in the higher levels instead of having to just...
Right, they could replace a mob of like 6 units and then 1 commander if they needed to, you know, one option. All I was saying was that they could like add 2 commanders and 4 drones or something like that, you know, to balance things out for performance reasons or whatever it may be. And like I said, dispersing or interspersing, whatever the word is, I'm kind of a dummy. Whatever the word is, mixing in some, there we go, just don't try to sound smart, you dumb shit. Mixing in some variety of enemies that have evolved and adapted and whatever. Like I was talking about the bugs before, but like the automatons of this one unit, like this big guy with a shield and, you know, whatever. I really don't know what all of them are called. But if one of these guys, you know, the face is the weak point and you're supposed to shoot over the shield into his face to blow up his face, what if those units started showing up in a slightly different color and, you know, they have plating over their face, and so the automatons have moved the plating and now they have a different weak point. And so it's like they're adapting in the lore or the live service element of the game, but don't get rid of the original units altogether. Just keep everything there, so that way, you know, you can kind of like organically experience it. The people that play it all the time, you know, they'll see every single iteration as they're added to the game, and, you know, they'll be all cool, whatever. But the people that casually experience it, they may experience those iterations out of order, but they'll still get to experience that they are a variety of enemies And the higher the difficulty, the more varieties you encounter. And, you know, whatever. They already do that to a degree. I'm not saying that higher difficulties, you don't have different enemies. I'm just saying they could diversify them a little bit. And for the automatons, especially from a lore aspect at least, it's really cool to keep the old automatons in, because then you could sell the idea that the automatons return to the ranks as much or more than the Helldivers do, implying that even though they are automatons, they're fucking robots, they value their existence more than the Helldivers that we throw them endlessly into the meat grinder. You know, that's kind of the satire of it all. And so reinforcing that that's a human thing more than even a robot thing would be kind of cool.
No, they throw like 16 or 8 soldiers at you, and we just drop down in squads of solos or 4 players.
Well, yeah, we send 4 soldiers down repeatedly, over and over and over, from ships that we could just bomb the hell out of these planets doing the exact same thing. Why do we need dudes on the ground throwing balls at things? This isn't fucking Pokemon, like Galactic Destroyer Pokemon. Fucking orbital laser, I choose you. I don't know. It just, yeah. Having that, the lore thing would be kind of cool, and, you know, whatever. But who am I? I'm just some filthy casual. It's whatever. But yeah, I totally agree with these high-level players, people that consume the game a lot. The devs want it to be a Grunt Power Fantasy, I believe is the quote. Grunt Power Fantasy. And that's kind of a misnomer, I guess. Or an oxymoron, even. Because, like, the grunt aspect of it means that you're weak and you're not Master Chief, you know, running out there 360 no-scoping everybody. You're the guy that has to, you know, check his magazine to see how many bullets he has, and, you know, his gun's flying all over the place because he's some 16-year-old soldier and whatever. You're not Master Chief. You're not that. Master Chief is the power fantasy. The grunt fantasy is the opposite. So calling it a grunt power fantasy, let me know in the comments if that's actually what they've called it, because I'm pretty sure I've heard them say the Grunt Power Fantasy. Doesn't matter. Regardless, you know, they want it to be that kind of an experience where you struggle. And I'm okay with that. That's actually how I play it. Like I said, I play with no HUD, which means I don't have the reticle to aim my gun. I find it kind of fun to play games like that. But again, I'm not playing this game at the highest level. I'm intentionally limiting. I've mentioned in other videos that I intentionally limit my amount of exposure to certain games. I've always done that. With Helldivers, I just don't want to burn out on it. I have fun just piddling around, playing with mods, doing whatever. Like, it's my dive in and unwind, relax, goof off with friends game. It fills that role perfectly. Since I already played at such a disadvantage at a low difficulty, it's not super frustrating. But if we were always running level 10s because we just played the game all the time, we were kind of bored with the lower level stuff or whatever the reason, if we were the higher level players, then we would be frustrated with the drag and whatever. I play it casually, and I have been gravitating towards the armor set. There's 3 of them, I believe. And I could be wrong, but I believe there's only 3 armor sets in the entire game that reduce the level of drag on your weapon. And other than that, you have to go into, you know, the ergo attachments, and most weapons have attachments. A lot of weapons have attachments. So again, acknowledging both sides of this. This is called playing devil's advocate. For those that may be listening that don't understand that, that's when you expound on something that you may not agree with just to test your own philosophies and ideas on things, because sometimes just discussing it that way can reveal something about your own idea, a flaw in your own idea, or, you know, maybe a flaw in theirs that you never considered. It's just brainstorming, like, it's critical thinking, and I know that's foreign to many people on the internet, especially in comment sections, it would seem, but Most of these podcasts are literally just me talking with my wife or friends and, I don't know, brainstorming shit, dude. We're brainstorming this balancing conundrum, the Helldivers 2 balancing conundrum crisis, whatever you want to call it. There is a crisis if you want to be that drastic or serious about it, you know, that's fine.
Depends on your definition of crisis.
Yeah, depending on how much you play any game will determine how much you care. And ultimately, any game, anybody could say, who gives a shit? Who cares? What the hell? Who cares? Are you serious right now? You're upset about a game with all the things going on in the world? You can always trivialize anything. You can trivialize anything, especially if it's just a hobby. So, you know, that's fine. Where was I going? Did you have any thoughts before we proceed into something else that I can ramble about, because I'm so good at rambling? Again, I'll reiterate, this is not scripted. None of these are scripted. I'm too lazy to write a script, dude. I'm not a real YouTuber. What are you fucking thinking?
Couldn't get me to follow a script even if you paid me.
Oh my god, so there is completely unrelated, not completely, because it's actually about a Helldivers video behind the scenes. Breaking news just for you. There exists footage of Vital trying to record one single sentence, one line, for a Helldivers video. What was the line? Command actually sent us to hell this time? Is that what it was? Is that what it was, Kayla? I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, she tried for over an hour to say one fucking sentence. She could not do it. I lost my bananas, dude. Oh my god, I was flapping and spinning and like going full autism on her ass. Like, it was funny. I don't know, maybe one day you'll see that. Anyway, back to the topic, the balancing. Do you remember when we stopped playing Helldivers however long after launch, and it wasn't like a decision. We just got into other games and stuff, you know, like we play all sorts of games. So we're not like no life in video games like some people might assume, but we're also not complete novices when it comes to video games either. Like we both have I'm kind of getting old, guys. I have a lifetime of video game playing. I'm slightly above average, so I guess that might make me a loser, depending on your perspective. I don't really give a fuck. But, you know, I'm okay at video games. Not the greatest, but I'm definitely not the worst. And we were playing other games because life and other games happened, and we heard the update where they were just buffing everything. Do you remember how excited I was to get back into Helldivers? Because my first thought was, they said something in like that super long dev diary that we watched. They said something about how like headshots with every weapon, but especially high-powered weapons like snipers or whatever, would do additional damage and, you know, all this stuff. And then we got in and I used the sniper with the I'll admit I used the reducing drag attachment, and armor, and I generally do wear one of those sets of armor. I like it. I don't always, depending on the weapon. Not every weapon has unbearable drag, but certainly I will always use that kind of armor with certain weapons. And if they're gonna keep adding this ergo debuff, I guess, if they're gonna keep nerfing ergo or increasing ergo, however you want to look at it, if they're gonna keep making the guns feel like shit, put more armor in the game that reduces the drag. Attempt to approach this with tact, like do something about it. Don't just nerf shit into the ground, because you aren't, at least I'll speak for myself, at least. Just me. I know I made an effort, and a successful effort at that, to come back into Helldivers when they buffed everything. I played for a few months. Well, I don't know. I always just casually consume games anyway, so it's hard to track that metric anyway. But I came back for a while, really enjoyed it, and then was playing other things. You know, Dayton and I were playing everybody was playing the finals. Then we come back, and because I intentionally limit how much I play the game, I'm having a fine time. I'm just tickled pink to play it. It's really immersive. It's a beautiful game. I'm not gonna say it's dog shit, because it's not. But I'm also not going to say it's it's perfect, because it's not. No game is perfect. You know, believe it or not, I could go on for like an hour about things I think are fucking phenomenal about Arc Raiders, the graphics, the sound design. Oh my god. Oh no, that's not this video.
No, we're not talking about Arc Raiders. We're talking about Helldivers, and also not the finals.
That's right, shut up. I mean, I'm always going to talk about the finals. I'm going to get a finals logo tattooed on my ass, just so you know.
No, you're not.
But anyway, what was I saying?
Well, so as far as the balancing issues, those haven't really affected me too much as far as the weapons and stuff like that. Maybe if they make my character slower, that would piss me off. My issue.
They're just gonna make the female models, or the lean models, just slower. You can have it's tied to the voice lines. You pick a female voice, and they just automatically make you slower. That would be so fucked up.
No, my biggest issue is like things like climbing on like the dumb shit, like climbing on ledges. You know, if you're using your jump pack and you're close to a ledge, she should just mantle up it, or he, you know, whatever you're playing as, I don't care. But the amount of times that I've hit my fucking ankles off of a ledge and my character just ragdolls and goes all retarded, it makes me so fucking mad.
Listen,
so mad.
It makes me
so much more mad, I think, than my bullets not going where I want them to go. It
can definitely be frustrating in a lot of instances when it happens. It's a little ridiculous. Lift your fucking feet up an inch, you dipshit. Sometimes it absolutely makes sense, and it's like in one of my videos recently, I can't even remember which one, I used the jump pack going up an incline, and because it's an incline, he catches his ankles and he kind of slams into the ground, just like you really kind of probably would using a jetpack, you know? And I wasn't upset at all. Like, I don't even think I uttered a single curse word. I didn't care at all because it was immersive. That one made sense. Yeah, I'd probably fucking trip. But when you're playing a video game and the in-game character cannot accomplish things that you can do in real life, it's like one of those immersive factors. You know, like being debilitated in games like survival horror and whatever, like that's all part of the whole experience. Like, your character is not a fighter, therefore it is very clunky to fight in the game, you know, I get it, whatever. But like, in a shooter, if you're playing as a super soldier, you don't want your guy in the game to just be a complete dipshit that can't aim where you, a real person in the real world, could do a better job than the guy in the game. Like, it feels weird. It's kind of like how there's the dissonance, I think that's what you'd call it. I'm a big old dummy, I don't know. When an in-game character you resonate with all of a sudden talks, and then it breaks your immersion. You related to that character a lot until they spoke and said something that you would never say. It happens a lot in RPGs. That's why in a lot of games, or some games, or whatever, they opt for your protagonist to not speak. And if they do speak, they speak in text. You choose a voice line and whatever, because it can be very, I don't know, strange to some people to all of a sudden, you know, design this character and then they speak and they got like a squeaky voice, or, you know, a deep voice. My mic probably didn't pick that up. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Helldivers. Yeah, Helldivers. The balance. Arrowhead should listen to the community. They should listen to the high-skilled players. And my reasoning is, like I said, there are two camps. In my opinion, there are two camps. One camp doesn't really give a shit because they casually consume the game. They will casually consume the game regardless of these little tweaks and enabling high-skill players to do high-skill things. Like, what is wrong with somebody being able to make a YouTube video where they solo run a level 10 and then a very casual player sees that and is like inspired by it to start trying to do that too? Maybe they start paying more attention to the loadouts in the game and how the different equipment can synergize, and that causes them to engage more with your game. How is that a bad thing? So my opinion is Arrowhead should listen to it. Not in every case should the developers just listen to the high skill and you can't equate every situation to that. These are not just like high skill players, they are highly engaged players, let's say. But in this instance, you need to listen to that side of the spectrum, because it's what's best for the game. It will make them happy, and the camp that doesn't give a fuck will continue to not give a fuck. They will continue to play the game regardless. But you are at risk of losing the people that take the game the most serious, and that's the danger that Arrowhead is facing right now, and I don't envy them.
I think if your high-skilled players are saying the game is hard enough, it's probably hard enough.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure there are people out there talking mad shit on the internet. There always are. Like, oh, I solo level 10s and it's easy and you're just a big old bitch and, you know, stop complaining and whining. They can make it harder.
If they make it too much harder, then those same people will turn around and be like, I don't even want to play this game anymore. It's just enemies over enemies I can't even fucking see.
We should acknowledge, though, that there is a difference between difficulty and tedium, or difficulty and frustration, or however you want to put it. Giving an enemy 10 times as much health technically makes it more challenging, but it's not more challenging in the way that it requires more strategy or really whatever. I guess it can touch on those things, it could be argued, but ultimately it's not more fun to just have a tankier enemy. A good example of that, actually, now that I think of it, is Vermintide. Another amazing fucking game. Vermintide 2 especially. Or that's the one that I was thinking of, is Vermintide 2. It doesn't matter. Vermintide. That game is so fucking cool, but it is fundamentally different on console versus on PC. On console, you have less enemies in the mobs, but they are tankier because there are less of them. So to maintain the challenge, the balance, you know, they have a little bit more health, but they don't feel like overbearingly tanky, you know, for how big they are, or, you know, how they're armed, or whatever, how you go about taking them down. They just have a little bit more health. They take a little bit more time. And on the PC version, because, you know, you can have a much more powerful PC than, you know, console. The PC version has many more enemies in mobs, but they have less health. So you pick your poison, or, you know, pick your sugar. I don't know what the opposite of that expression would be. Pick whichever one you prefer and play that game. It's fine. I really enjoyed the PC version because you had so many more enemies on screen, so it was like a little more overwhelming, and the feedback in that game was so on point. You slam into a group of enemies with a hammer and they all kind of like ragdoll and, you know, interact with the physics engine and all that shit, and it delivers feedback to you, the player, that gives you that dopamine, dude. Oh, my dopamine. So I'm not saying that Arrowhead, specifically Arrowhead, I'm not saying that they can or can't add more enemies or whatever for optimization reasons. I'm not smart enough to know that kind of shit. I'm not a game developer, you know? I just play them. But I think they should be doing a much harder job. A harder job? A better job. They need to try harder. They need to do better.
They need to do harder.
They need to do faster. They need to do faster, harder, and better. All the things that the elite, the most dedicated players want, as best they can. And it's very obvious that in a lot of instances, they say one thing and do another. They have added more. They said they can't add more health, but they can. They have. And it's really annoying when they do, actually. They said they can't add more enemies. They have. They do. So I don't know, like, they contradict themselves, and, you know, maybe this is the community, you know, reading too much into it, not understanding, them not explaining it well enough. Like, I have done many times. I've tried to expound on something and I don't do an adequate job expressing my opinion, so a lot of people misunderstand or throw me in like in this camp or this camp or this camp when I'm really in none of those camps. It happens all the time. I'm not a very good speaker. Again, I'm not a real YouTuber, but I think Arrowhead should listen to the higher level players, because it's not going to hurt the game. It will only help the game. even as a casual player myself, I was so excited to come back and play when they buffed everything. And then after showing that good faith or whatever to the community, they immediately turn around and just start nerfing stuff again, systematically across the board. And it's not just the weapons they're nerfing, they're nerfing fundamentally, like drag and all that stuff. Just let the game feel responsive to play. Like, eventually it's gonna, like, you guys were all about, oh, this game doesn't have DLSS because we'd rather focus our efforts on actually optimizing the game. That sounds real fucking great, dude. Don't let it just be on paper. Actually do that. Because if you keep adding things like drag, everybody that plays this game, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people that play this game, especially those on mouse and keyboard, are going to just feel like this game is post-processed as fuck. They are gonna feel like it's got fucking 20 times frame gen on with the disconnect between what they see, the feedback they receive in the game, and what they are doing with their fucking hands. So stop fucking with that stuff. If you want it to be harder, balance it a different fucking way. I don't know. Did I offer some suggestions for them in this video? Maybe. I don't even remember what I said. I'm just getting the stuff out of my head so I don't have to remember it later. Just listen to the community. You knocked it out of the park with this game. It's beautiful, it's immersive, it's so fun. I have some suggestions for, you know, running the game no HUD, or the people like me that like to do that. If Arrowhead actually were to ever watch this video, please go watch that one, because I really want you to get that kind of stuff. If you, the viewer, enjoy no HUD kind of content, immersive, more cinematic. If a cinematic look at Helldivers sounds appealing to you and my voice doesn't grate on your ears too much, go watch some of my other Helldivers videos, because here lately especially, I've been playing as much as possible without my HUD, and it's been pretty fun. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Kayla?
This is, of course, a take from a couple of casual players. I'm more casual with Helldivers than Vix is. But yeah, I agree. If the people who are playing your game the most are saying stop buffing everything, stop buffing everything. They always add something else to it to make it entertaining, so they do have other options.
Yeah, we might even do a video on, I haven't done it yet, actually, come to think of it, because it's really just come to mind. Go ahead and subscribe, because I will eventually be doing I guess several more Helldivers videos. Like I said, I'm in the I don't care camp. I've been having fun with Helldivers because of the way I play it. So maybe I do a video on how to enjoy Helldivers 2, like how exactly I go in and how I'm finding enjoyment. Maybe not everybody will enjoy it the way I do, but maybe you will. Maybe it's something just you never really considered doing. So keep an eye out for that. And I'm also gonna do a no HUD suggestions video. Maybe I'll combo those videos together, because they kind of go hand in hand. I don't know, we'll see. But if you're still here, you're still hearing my annoying fucking voice, I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a wonderful day.